Thank you very much to the organizers of this event for making this happen. Thank you to everybody who has decided to show up here this afternoon. When we were over there, we were right across the street over there near Queen Street from an event that took place a couple of days ago that I just want to let you guys know about if you don't know. Because when we talk about solidarity with Indigenous people, when we talk about the fact that we are standing on stolen Indigenous territory and that we want to acknowledge that, what does that really mean for us now? There is a company called Copper One, whose offices are right across the street over there next to Tim Hortons on Queen Street. Copper One is trying to mine in unceded Indigenous territory, specifically the territory of the Algonquins of Barrier Lake. And young people from the Algonquin of Barrier Lake First Nation came down here a couple of days ago to that building over there at Copper One. They went inside to the annual general meeting. They made a statement, and they talked about the fact that they are not going to allow any mining on their unceded Indigenous territory. So, in my capacity as a journalist, I thought, what can I do? I can go there, and I can document that, and I can take pictures, and I can take video, and I can share their struggle with as many people who are living here in Toronto so that they understand the connections, so that they understand what's really at stake when we talk about supporting Indigenous people, about reconciliation, about decolonization, what we're really talking about. The people of Barrier Lake have faced the tear gas. They've faced the police head on. They've faced the dogs. They've faced it all in order to defend their territory. And we have to be willing to put ourselves on the line also to defend Indigenous territories and Indigenous peoples and stand with them. I also have to say that, you know, when our previous speaker talks about waking up and looking at the news every day and the things that we hear and we read and we see, one of the things that I saw before coming here was that we continue to live in a country where Indigenous children who live on reserve, where they do not get the same funding for child welfare and other government services as all other children in Canada do. We learned that our government has spent over, this is the federal government I'm talking about, Justin Trudeau's Liberals have spent over $700,000 fighting in court so that they don't have to equalize funding for Indigenous children on reserve. I have to lead with these things before I talk about what we're also inclusively here to talk about today, because it's not one thing, these things are connected, but I have to lead with these things because for me this is what it means to be a part of this Project Canada, whatever it means, is that we have to acknowledge how we all came to be on this land and what is at stake for those who are originally on this land. So thank you for indulging that, and I want you to always remember that things like that are going on in your city all the time. This fight with child welfare with Indigenous children is happening right now. So when we talk about writing letters and we talk about organizing, these are some of the things practically that we can do to start supporting children, start supporting people who are protecting their own land, their own water from contamination and from infiltration from corporations that have no right to be there. But of course, we're also here, I believe, because we are united by love. And love is the word that I think that we need to keep using over and over and over again in this struggle. Because as Al Farouk said, we have to be capable of building and not just resisting and not just reacting. And the only way that we can build is first and foremost by loving and caring for one another. So I bring greetings and love to all of our Muslim friends who are in the middle of celebrating Ramadan right now, but who still found a way to be out here today. Thank you so much. I want to shout out Muslim people, but particularly Muslim women who are visibly wearing the signs of their faith and who have to go out into this world knowing that they may be targets simply for what they believe and what they want to worship. We love you. We honor you. We're going to stand with you. I want to shout out, and I want to be inclusive when I say this, because I know that our labels and our language is never possible of capturing the diversity of who we are as human beings. But to all of our Muslim friends who are queer, and I mean that inclusively, who are trans, and I mean that inclusively, who are gender non-conforming, gay, lesbian, bisexual, we love you, we support you, we see you, and we stand with you. All of the Muslim people across Canada from coast to coast who have come here as refugees, who have had to leave places that have been destroyed by imperialism, by colonialism, by greed and capitalism, and who have had to try and make a better life for themselves and for their families. We see you. We love you. We're going to fight to protect you and to make sure that you have the services and the support that you need to have a life here in this country. And you guys know, obviously, that I'm going to support and I'm going to shout out all of our Black Muslim people. There seems to be some bizarre mythology in this part of the world that you cannot be both Black and Muslim, that you cannot be Muslim and queer, Muslim and trans, Muslim and disabled. And these things have to go. So to all of the Black people who are also Muslim and who are fighting some of the most entrenched and difficult intersections of hatred in this city, we see you, we love you, we will always stand with you. Now I know that there are some very bigoted and seemingly shameless people who are willing to come out into the public square and who are willing to humiliate themselves and everybody around them by expressing the hateful things that they have been expressing. And obviously, we don't have any time for that. But as has already been said up here, we have to remember too that those people are not the end or the beginning of this problem. That they are a symptom of something much larger that really has to do with state violence, that really has to do with colonialism and white supremacy, as we've been hearing. So it's awful to see people out here who are willing to show their faces and openly express hatred against Muslim people, and by extension, many, many other marginalized groups of people. But I want to talk about the fact that the people who are inside the building that we are protesting are doing the same thing. So when we hear about things like our local police getting involved in what they call counter-radicalization programs, where they're trying to infiltrate mosques, where they're trying to infiltrate Muslim community centers and sacred spaces and community places, we have to be willing to stand up to our local police and say, no, we're not going to tolerate that. We have to be willing to tell local police who want to wear weapons and uniforms inside of our schools while they walk past our children. In less than 2 weeks, there's going to be a meeting on this issue at the Toronto Police Services Board. Anybody here who has been affected by this issue or knows people who have been, I invite you on June 15th to come to the Police Services Board meeting, but not just to attend, to speak, to sign up, to talk about this, because Black and Muslim students particularly. And if you are not lucky enough to have status in this country, that is even another layer of fear, that you can't even go to school without wondering if the police, why are they asking me my name? Why are they asking me for my identification? Is this going to get back to the Canadian Border Services Agency? Is this going to get me in trouble in my community? We're talking about students, we're talking about children who our whole society says are the most precious and vulnerable people, and we're allowing police to profile children in their own schools. So we have to be willing to stand up against local police when they engage in these forms of violence that are much, unfortunately, more powerful and harder to combat than the fools that want to stand out front of the city hall. I remember a rally that happened here in the square a couple of years ago now around Bill C-51. We're still dealing with the fact that C-51, C-23, which wants to change provisions around security at airports, we know who this kind of legislation is meant to harm and meant to target and meant to scrutinize. It is directed at Muslim people, and we cannot stand by. We have to stand solidly with them. There is no security for the state that does not include Muslim people. They are not a threat to our security. We must protect them and secure their future. So when it comes to things like Bill C-51, when it comes to C-23, when it comes to these horrific policies that are being perpetrated in the name of security at the federal level, I don't have time for Justin Trudeau and his pretty face. I don't have time for it. Communities are being put at risk because of his negligence. So we have to continue to fight back at that level also. The last thing I want to say is actually something that I did not come here prepared to say, but it's because of what I've heard since I've been here, and I want you guys to all reflect on this, what I'm about to say. I hear people chanting, and I hear people talking about what they call scum, and not wanting any scum in our city. And I want you to be careful. And this is why I talk about love. Because as much as we might hate what people are doing to us, as much as we might hate the systems of oppression that are larger than any individual, larger than any group, larger than any one government or administration, we can't dehumanize people because they have chosen to dehumanize us. When that happens, we are lost. So no matter what they say, no matter what they do to us, I am not saying we don't resist. We are here to resist. But we can never allow their language and their ideology to come out of our mouths. Let us respond with love and with compassion. So I encourage you guys all to try and plug into what's going on locally. Try and plug into what's happening locally right now with Muslim people. Remember when there are things happening like labor disputes and the city of Toronto is giving a free rein to Uber and not following the same rules that the taxi industry has to follow. Remember who most of those people driving taxi are. Remember who they are, because they are disproportionately Muslim people in our city, disproportionately black people in our city, and they can't feed their families when policies like this are enacted. There's 1,000 ways that we can plug into these issues, but we just have to be paying attention, and we have to be connected to our Muslim brothers and sisters to have them tell us what they need and how we can support them. I love you guys. I'm so proud of you all. It's not an easy thing to come out here in public and do this. Thank you so much for being here. Solidarity.